season and all year long. I'd like to thank Calvin Castine, as I see he's turning his camera on back there. That's Sam. And I'd also like to thank, right up front, I'd like to thank Tim for driving our team the thousands of miles that they went this year. And I'd also like to mention how great the support of the parents and the community has been in this. Our first presenter today will be the girls' modified soccer team. He's going to call his team up here, and before he does, I'd like to just say how dedicated and what a great job I think Joe did this year. Without any further ado, go do it.
Well, good afternoon. I jotted down a few statistics before I came up here. I was really startled when I finished doing this. The soccer teams in this room have an accumulated record of 54 wins and 12 losses, 40 shutouts, and 180 goals scored. Now that those statistics alone should tell you it was a great year. When you think about the league and conference titles, sectional title, the Final Four, you got to know that most, maybe all but 8 teams in the state at this level would love to have a season like that. And for Chazy, that's used to good seasons, I'd say it's probably something for Chazy as well. But you know, records are great, but statistics don't win games, and reputations don't win games, and press clippings don't win games. Players do. And we're here to honor the players who amass these statistics. And I have the honor of introducing you to the modified girls soccer team. So you can come up here, girls, and get started. Well, this team's record was 10-2, 5 shutouts, 36 goals scored. They allowed 10 goals scored against them in the 12 games that they played. Pretty good statistics. What do you say? How do you describe a team like that? How do you describe a team that at the first practice, when I said, "What kind of season do you want?" I hear this voice that seemed to come out of the grass say, "A winning season," and I looked. And there was this little player standing there, and I could, she came up to about here, and that look on her face of total determination, I said, "Well, this is going to be an interesting year." How do you describe a team that in the first game they played at home, they lost to Eatown 2-1? They played that game with 12 players, one got hurt, so they played it with 11, and one of the players had never played soccer in her life before on field, never. I'd only started touching the ball during our practices about a week and a half ago. How do you describe a team where one of the captains in that game was sitting the bench because she had missed the Saturday practice, and although she could have played, knew that she wasn't going to. And the other members of the team couldn't play because they didn't have enough practices. How do you describe a team that scored 3 goals in the first 5 minutes of play at Lake Placid and won the game 6-1? Scored 5 goals in one quarter, first quarter, against Crown Point and won 5-0, and those 5 goals were scored by 5 different players. Well, you describe a team like that by introducing the players and just letting you get a feel for them. First of all, we had two players. I'll introduce the seventh players. We had two players who had never played soccer before. Lydia Anderson and Aaron Dupree. Lydia, come up here. I knew Lydia had become a soccer player when midway through the season she caught a direct shot right in the gut and doubled her over on the field. And all she did was go down on one knee and look really pained. But she didn't cry, she didn't holler, and eventually they stopped the game. She didn't want to come out, so they took her out. Aaron. Aaron loved to play and has gotten very good at it in just one short season. The next player is Kristen Filion. Kristen isn't here? Kristen was one of our halfbacks and also played a little in keeper. She had a good season. Ashley Harvey. Ashley loves to play soccer. She tells me before every game, am I going to start? How much am I going to play? I love to play. Am I going to play? And she does love to play soccer. She plays well. Amanda Riggs. Amanda broke her wrist just before the season started. She came to every practice. She came to every game. She did dog work until she could finally get back without the doctor's excuse anymore. She could play. And she played very well the last few games of the season. But I really thought it was gutsy to just keep coming when she could have stayed home and studied. Ha! Courtney Sweet. Played on the right wing for us. Very fast player. Really like to see her out there to really mix the defense up with speed. Danielle Nephew. Danielle played right fullback, and she got to some balls that were surely going to go in the goal. It was amazing how well she could cover the ground out there. She did do a great job when she got there. Jenny Wilson. Jenny was one of our most skilled players, came up with an awful lot of talent. Right-footed, so I put her as left striker because I wanted her to learn how to play with her left foot. I don't think she's still forgiven me for that because I never let her play on right. She got 4 goals, even playing off her left foot. But if she can become as good on her left as she is with her right, she'll be a force to reckon. Okay, Tori Terry. I need Tori up here because I'm going to use her in my class. I sometimes use people as part of my presentation, and I just like to do that if you don't mind. I'm not going to embarrass you. I need to describe to you Tori's play real quick because it comes into play. I told the girls today I would mention to them what I thought was the best quarter of soccer, and some of them think it was a game they've already mentioned. It turns out it was a game that involved Tori. Tori was our sweeper. She became our sweeper almost from the beginning of the game. She usually was lost in the crowd out there because when the other players, mostly freshmen, would be playing as the strikers of the other team, and they were always taller than Tori, and you'd kind of lose her in the pack, but you'd see the ball go out towards the opponent's goal, so you'd know she had gotten there. But the best quarter of soccer they played was in a losing game. It was in the game at Eton, where we went behind 2-0 by the end of the third period. And the E-Town crowd was going nuts. They were just looking for blood. And you could tell the way the E-Town girls came off that they were going to really take it to Chazy. This was their opportunity to put it to us. We had lost to them in the first game of the season. We were doing pretty horribly that game. We'd gotten some bad breaks, but we didn't come off the bus ready to play. And so I looked at them as they came off the field, and I got to tell you that as a coach, you can tell when a team is just down. They didn't come off hard, and their eyes showed exhaustion, but also they were just down on themselves. So I figured, well, it's time to get them to talk, and I said, look, we're down 2-0. Let's not play to keep it close. I'm going to send you out there on offense, and if you lose 5-0, so be it. But I want to see you take the game to E-Town. I don't want to hear that E-Town crowd anymore. I'm just sitting tired of it. And I said, Tori, you're going to be the only defender other than the keeper. You're going to be back there by yourself. Everyone else is going to be on offense. So you're just going to have to do the job. And she looked at me like I was crazy. So there she was back there. Sent them out on the field. Sure enough, up we go. And we're pressing forward. And they keep 2 strikers back. And I could hear some of the crowd, because they're standing right in my ears. I can hear them say, God, there are only 2 of them. We can score. We can get them really good. There's just still back there. You know, Tori isn't that big, so it looks like they're going to get fired. So the ball squirts out, and one of their forwards get it. And they go down the left wing, and Tori goes over and gets right on the person with the ball, right in the face, and takes it. And we get it forward again. And so now I look, and there are 3 forwards standing right on top of Tori, right on the midfield line. And now you can hear the girls from E-Town yelling, come on, get the ball forward. You're going to score? I mean, there's only her. You can just hear the bloodlust in the crowd. They get another goal. They come down again. They back to the left. 2 of them to the left, 1 right down the middle. Tori goes to the left with those 2. Stays in their face long enough to delay the centering pass, but you knew it was going to come. Sure enough, comes a centering pass, and by that time, Danielle had come from all the way on the forward line and just got her foot right within the 18-yard box, just got her foot on it and kicked it out. So again, they were stopped. Now they were mad. Now they put 5 forwards on the line. And there's Tori, right? We get the ball back, and there are 5 of them lined up. You can't even see Tori. I knew she was there. And now the crowd is just screaming and yelling, get the ball up. You're going to score. There's only 1 back there. And they get it up. And so there are the 5 girls, and they're all waiting for the ball to come to them. Well, Tori doesn't wait for a ball to go to anybody. She goes between these 5 girls and kicks the ball forward, 5 girls back, and score. I mean, it was going to happen that way because they had pulled everybody up to score. Next time, it's 2-1. Next time I look, there aren't any E-Town girls on the line. All alone. And they're all back in the 18-yard line. For the next 10 minutes, we took about 15 shots. We hit the post, the crossbars, we hit the keeper, we hit the players, we hit wide, we put it over the crossbars, but they just couldn't put it in. But it was their best quarter of soccer. They played better skilled soccer, but not when they were down 2-0. Not at E-Town, when the crowd was really into the game. They took the crowd out of the game, they took E-Town's girls out of the game, they took the coach out of the game. When that game was over, it wasn't a bloodlust cry, it was a scream of relief that they were going to get off the field. And that had a lot to do with them realizing how good a team it was. It was a great game for us. It was a great game for all of us. Eighth graders. Let's see. Danielle. I already mentioned Danielle is very, very fast, but also wants to be a keeper. I told her I'd work with her next year, but she's going to have to go to soccer camp to get a little head start on that. I'm going to be sorry to lose her out on the field if she turns out to be really good in goal, but I think she could be really good in goal. Katie Bodine. Katie is the left half or right half on the team. And very solid player, very smart, always where I wanted her to play, always where she should be. Rebecca Krieger, or Becky. Team captain, very good player, played her as striker in on the right wing. She finally got very comfortable playing the right wing. Great process to the center and to the far post. And looking forward to having another year with Becky. Susie Bellin of the Land. Susie's the fastest player on the team. She has the leading number of goals on the team with 15. She'll be moving up to varsity next year. So she tells me. And I count on her. Katie Human. best transition player on the team. She played left halfback. She's naturally right-footed, right-handed. I guess her brothers made her learn how to play left. And you couldn't tell that she's a right-footed person if you watch her play soccer. She's just great with that left foot. And she would be all the way on offense and then all the way on defense before you could notice. She covered for everyone out there. If someone was having a bad game, Katie was covered for them. This is a great season, Katie. And she's not sure if she wants to move up or not. I'd be very happy to be able to coach her for another year. She's a great player. The freshman. Rachel Dumas is not here. She was our starting keeper, responsible for 4 of those 5 shutouts, along, of course, with the defense. And Rachel was just solid as a keeper. Very good. Someone that I think could have a future. Tara Trombley is another senior who is sick today and just couldn't make it. The thing about Tara was everyone knew her number. It was number 32. And everyone knew that number because it always got called. Tara had not played soccer for 2 years, but she was a little, it took her some time to learn, so she loved to use her shoulder on legal, I might say, legal blocks, checks, and hockey term. But these legal charges often turned out to be called because she was a big girl, and the ref tried to protect her little girls out there. When they weren't legal, I didn't say much to her because I liked her ability to go for the ball. She protected what was hers, and that was the stopper position, which was most of the field. Shelley Leonard. Shelley was our right halfback, and Shelley is the smartest player on the field for knowing the game of soccer. Our right fullback. Shelley, actually, when I put in a player for fullback like Danielle, I told her to go talk to Shelley. Shelley would teach her how to play the position. Mentally and physically, Shelley knows the fullback position. And she made some saves backing up the sweeper that were just amazing to see. She had to come so far, and she made such great contact with the ball. Never missed that ball when it was going to go in the net. She always saved the ball. I can't say enough about how she worked. By the way, Shelley really worried about running 2 miles we ran every day. She comes to me and said, you know, Coach, I don't know, this running stuff, I'm not very good at it. She was always in the middle of the pack and she wouldn't stop. She never took the walking route that some people take running this. At least never when I caught her. Just a great player. Megan Cordes. Megan wasn't our starting keeper, and she didn't like to play keeper, but she volunteered to play keeper because I begged her to get another keeper, and she said, okay, I'll do it. That was a couple of years ago. So she worked at it. She loved to play left wing. I told her, remember now, don't tell the coach you're a left wing or a left halfback in the club. She didn't have one, so you got to be a halfback. But I remember, even though she didn't like to play keeper, I got to tell you a little story about Megan. About 5 games left in the season, Megan was at practice, and I decided we needed a hard keeper practice. And Megan was my choice because I figured our starting keeper would be sick. She had a bad foot. She wasn't playing. Okay. So I worked Megan for about 15 minutes with shots from the 18-yard line, and then I put her into the position of having to come out on breakaways where I'd roll the ball to the penalty shot line, and I'd have a player come in off the 18, and Megan was on the line, and she'd have to come out and get it. I thought she'd come out and get a couple of them. She came out on every one of them. It was one of those dry days where the ground was really rough. After we rotated through about 16 players, I stopped the drill because she was having a hard time standing. Every ball she came to and she dove at, she went at them no matter how close the girl was. I think she got kicked a couple times. They scored probably once on her. By the time it was over, you could see the sweat running down, and it was mingled with that dust, so it just was streaked with brown crud everywhere. She had been wearing pads on her knees, and they got turned around, so they were on the back of her knees. It was done. She was all scratched up, and she was exhausted. And I looked at her and I said, okay, Megan, good job. The girls were clapping when I said it was over, giving her a good hand. I said, now take a ball and take a clap. She looked at me, really hurt in her eyes. Didn't I do a good job, Coach? And I said, yeah, but you got to learn to finish. Take a ball and take a clap. And she glared at me. If it could have, looks could kill, I would have been a dead person. But she took the ball and she took the lap. And I couldn't get the girls to come back into the game on the next keeper because they were watching her. I think they were waiting to see where she would drop along the way. But she didn't drop. The next game, she got a shutout. I didn't think a ball would go in. She just had the confidence that she can see the keeper every now and then. It was a beautiful game. But she hates keeper. She loves left wing. And she loves to take the ball down on the left wing. There was a game that she played about 3 days before the season ended that she took the ball down on her left wing and this fullback, the fullback was tired of her breaking the wing and centering the ball. She had done that about 4 times on her, so she met her right at the halfway line and put her shoulder right into Megan. Now, that girl was about Nikki's size, but a little heavier. And when she put the shoulder on Megan, Megan went off the ball towards the sideline, but she just flicked it with her left foot and she kept it. And then you could see as they started to go down the field, it was shoulder to shoulder all the way down the field from that point on. Megan was digging in with the right cleat. You see the dirt flying off the right cleat. She was using the left cleat just to push the ball, just to carry it, just enough so she could dig with the right. And she was slowly still getting pushed over, but she wasn't being pushed off. And I said, well, she's going to run out of room because she was headed right for the end line, and she wasn't going to get that ball centered. And then she flicked the ball from maybe here to that table, and it gave her 2 steps. In both steps, she dug in, and she shouldered that girl and shouldered her off enough to gain a half a step, and that's when she was able to cross. She couldn't get it in the center, but she hit the keeper right at the near post and took her back because the keeper caught her right in the gut. It was a beautiful shot. Megan never saw it because the fullback put her down on the ground like a good fullback should, so Megan never saw that. And the keeper kicked the ball forward, and I didn't watch the play. I watched Megan because I wanted to see if Megan had learned how to finish the play. She got up, didn't even hesitate, and started to run back on defense like she was supposed to. So she'd learned how to finish the play out in the field. It was just a beautiful play to see. It's something coaches look for. You don't always look for the goals. You look for that kind of play. Best card on the team. Just loves to play. Finally, Nikki DeMars. Nikki, like Susie and Becky, is captain on the team. Nikki's the best player on the team, the most valuable player on the team. Nikki is a team leader out on the field. She controlled the game, and she played striker, stopper, and sweep. And she was still able to score a lot of goals. But primarily her job was to set the offense and to help the defense. And she did it really well. Nikki probably is the best team leader I've seen at this age. She would yell out. You love to hear girls talk, but she wouldn't talk. She would give commands out in the field. She would yell, look up now, look. And it meant somebody was open. It didn't have to be her, but somebody was open. And if the imitation is the best form of flattery, I had a 7th grader who I put out at striker at the last game, and sure enough, what do I hear out there? I thought Nikki was out there playing. I hear, look up. And she was taking what Nikki did and using it. Nikki came to me about 4 games left in the season and said, I'm tired of hearing how many goals Susie scores. I'm going to catch her. She had 4 goals in it. Susie had 11. And I looked at Nikki and I said, go for it. But I'm not playing you any more than the 2 quarters I do already up at striker. You go for it. And I thought to myself, Nikki's too good a soccer player to catch Susie. She's never going to do it. She's not going to catch Susie. And the reason is, she's a team player and she'll pass the ball. Sure enough, she started scoring 2 goals a game. Susie was still scoring 1 goal a game. Susie and Nikki play on the same line. 10 of Susie's goals were scored when Nikki was on her left side. Nikki would take the offense, the defense with her because of her size and her skill. Susie would be open on the right. Nikki would pass. She'd always be looking to pass to Susie. Susie would be one player usually and shoot. Nikki kept passing the ball to Susie. And the first person over there to congratulate Susie after she had said she was going to beat her would be Nikki. You can't beat somebody if you keep feeding them the ball. But I knew that's the way it would work. She's just too good a soccer player to do that. She was a team player. And, you know, by the way, one last thing. I know you're really happy about that. Nikki was the captain who sat the bench that first game. And I knew, at least I thought, that it really bothered her because she wanted to be out there playing, and I think it would have made a difference in the game. It sure as heck bothered me because I didn't want to keep her on the bench. Coaches love to win. But it had to be that way, and she knew that. But I think it made her a better soccer player. I sure as heck know it made these girls a better soccer team. Great season, Modified. Thanks for the ball.
Thanks, Joe. Nice job. Okay, our next presenter will be Randy Barcombe and the boys modified soccer team.
I think everybody that's here that was in Batavia last weekend would agree with me in saying that I enjoyed the buffet much better this week than I did last week. I think it's great that everybody can chip in and put on a nice meal like this, especially for the athletes. They certainly all deserve it this year. Great job by every team. The Modified boys had a super season. We don't set a lot of goals, really, at the beginning of the year. If we would have, I really think this team would have probably achieved about 90% of those. The one goal we do point out in the very first day, and we talked about it at length, is becoming a team. The 7th, 8th, 9th graders, especially the 7th graders, their first taste of school sports, it's quite a change. And getting to mesh together as a team is really the one goal that I strive for the most at Modified. And this group was able to achieve that quicker than any other group I've had. Really, 3 or 4 games into the season, they were a team. It didn't take 8 or 9 games to do that. And speaking of where they were in age group, this is the youngest team we've had also. There was only 3 9th graders on the team, 10 7th graders, 10 8th graders. The 7th graders struggled a lot at the beginning, probably more so than I've ever seen, with the conditioning part of it. Feet, ankles, a lot of them missed 2 or 3 days of practice early in the year. A little reminder for if there's any 6th grade boys here, or if they watch it on TV or hear about it, you should try and do some kind of conditioning before you come to start the soccer season. Okay, because if you played youth sports and you might do a couple laps and have a practice a week and 2 games a week. When you start going 5 days a week or 6 days a week like we did at the beginning, August 25th, you don't stop till October 18th. A couple miles a day running, 10, 12 minutes of sprints, boxes, boys' favorites, right? Boxes. You really have to have some conditioning in there or you are going to be hurting for a while, and it costs you time. The 7th graders did adjust. By the middle of the year, they were major contributors to the team. The 8th graders continue to be a very impressive class. I think the possibilities of a lot of success are very high with that group. A lot of people that can do a lot of different things. The 9th graders, we only had 3, as I said before, but they were solid contributors on the field. Plus, they really did help me a lot in running the practices and taking care of business on the bus and so on. So, complete team effort. We don't talk a lot about numbers. A couple things I'd like to mention real quick was they allowed only 3 goals the entire season, this group. And the last 7 games, they had 7 shutouts in a row. They did not have a goal scored on them in the last 7 games. Now that all goes back to, as far as I'm concerned, the team effort. Okay, that starts in the back. We had 3 goalies that played back there. They all did a great job for us. Some games they didn't get a lot of shots, but they communicated well with the fullbacks, and they made the play when necessary. Fullbacks probably made the most improvement of any position on the field from the beginning to the end of the season. They really did come on strong, and at the end, if there was a man on, they headed the ball away. If they had time, they'd settle and they distributed to some place where we could start something offensively. Midfielders, we stressed one thing from day one, and Adam and Ian and those guys will vouch for this, and that is win every goal kick and win every punt, offensively and defensively. And they didn't win every one, but I bet you if that was charted, they won about 80 or 85% of them. And to me, that's key. When the ball was in the air, we usually won the ball and kept the ball in. Up front in the line, there were games when we had so much pressure that the ball really didn't get beyond the midfield point a lot. So it starts in the back and it works all the way up to the front, and I really think that's what a team effort's about. All I can say is I think down the road, this group has the possibilities of hopefully doing something similar to what happened here at this table this year. And I look very forward to that, and that would be great if that could happen. So I look forward to watching that. So we'll hand out the certificates now. We'll start with the 7th graders. Josh Perro. Christopher LaPointe. Whitney Lapierre. Nick Gagne. Christopher Roach. Tyler Spiegel. Eric Rigby. Ian Lauren. Okay, I believe that's all these 7th graders. 8th graders, Courtney Lapierre. Aaron Lauren. Jonathan Misak. Corey Baker. Stephen Dupree. Steve was our comedian, by the way. Dan Racine. Damian the batter. Ian Brasser. Adam Trombley. Mike Barcombe. Okay, 9th graders, Joey Leonard. Travis Lobdell. And James Slater. Thank you very much. That's great. Thank you very much.
That's a wonderful plaque, guys. Congratulations, Randy. We're going to move on to the varsity teams now. And we'll start with the girls varsity and Coach Robert Porter.
Thank you. Let's talk about the team for a few minutes before I ask the girls to come up. This year, the Chazy girls Eagles varsity team won 12 games, lost 7. We went undefeated the first half of our season. In the second half of our season, we had a 500 record. For most of the teams in our league, that would be good enough, but for our girls, it wasn't. They knew we were a better team than that. All the girls did. And decided we needed to do something because our second season was starting up. That's our sectional. And we weren't going very far playing the way we ended up. We started doing some things. We had seniors meetings. We had team meetings. We had dinners at parents' houses. in order to get some kind of team unity. I keep notes so I don't get carried away. Our season got done. We lost our first ever home game to the Lake Placid. We'd never lost a home game before that. But that was our last game of the season. We were in big trouble. We had a week to get ready, and we had to get ready for our sectional play. We did everything we had to do. And to tell you, we were winning the first half of the season because we were in very good shape. Preseason is difficult. It is. Everybody's running 4 miles a day. Everybody's doing the drills and eating right and doing the right things. And I think that when our season starts, we're in better shape than any other team we face. So it's easy to beat them. We're in good shape. But by the second half of the season, the other teams are now in good shape. It's a lot harder for us to keep up. And we had something missing. We couldn't just win without team unity. You guys knew that. So we did get together, and we worked really hard at it. It's not an easy thing to come by. We started our sectional play in Westport, a place we'd never won before, Camp Dudley, and we played against Indian Lake. And I had Mr. Doolin helping us for our second season. And of course, as you know, somebody that can talk a lot. I was never lonely. I listened well. But we went to Camp Dudley that day to play Indian Lake, and as we got off the bus and started towards the field, I mentioned, he let me mentioned to Mr. Doolin that I almost felt sorry for Indian Lake. The way we walked onto that field wasn't the same team that we had seen all year. The girls were ready to play, without a doubt. We took the game to them. We beat them 3-0. We came back home and felt proud of what we've done. We had a day to practice so that we could play Keene, the team that had beaten us earlier this year. And we had to do that at Camp Dudley again. And the same thing kind of happened. We kind of got off the bus again. And Mr. Doolin let me say, I kind of feel sorry for Keene right now. And I was probably right. Yeah, we beat Keene 3-0. The team was just pulling together very well. You guys looked vicious. You wanted to win no matter what, and that's a good feeling for me as a coach, and it was a great feeling for you guys. We were really becoming a team. We're getting united. It was very nice to see. That kind of opened the door for a big game, a sectional title game against Westport. A team that had beaten us a few weeks before, 4-0, kind of left us in the dump somewhere. Not feeling very good, it's just about ourselves, but after those 2 big impressive sectional wins, we kind of felt like we had a heck of a chance against Westport. Didn't matter how big they were or how hard they hit. We thought we had a pretty good chance for them. And that game, I talked to Mr. Doolin before the game, and I said, I don't feel sorry for Westport. Sorry. I don't. But, well, that was a pretty tough match for us. It was a Seton, thank goodness. Seemed to be a little more comfortable playing at Seton. It's nice to play there for a title. Everybody pulled together. The boys were going to play right after us, and certainly didn't want to let them down. It was a tough team we played. And we played a tough game, and we finished the game 0-0, went into double overtime. Still no one could score. We went into sudden death. Still no one could score. Either end. A lot of opportunities. Nobody could put the ball in. As history kind of repeats itself, we had to go to penalty kicks. And of course, when the game got done and we had to go to penalty kicks, my whole team started cheering. I mean, what's going on? We didn't win yet, but they probably knew something I didn't know. So we did go into penalty kicks, and it's a tough time for us, and we ended up taking that title, 1-0 in penalty kicks. They were determined. It was cold, it was raining, and you guys did a great job. Great job pulling together. That game is great. It's a good title. It's nice to take that. They opened the door for us to go to Potsdam. We went to Potsdam, another cold, even colder and rainy day. We had to face a team called Harrisville, that nobody knew too much about. Tried to tell these guys a little bit about them. Did tell them they played just like us, and they did play just like us. It's just that they were closer to home, and they ended up beating us 2-1. It's a tough loss, but our season had to end. Harrisville went on in the state quarterfinals to beat Northville. The same score they had against us, and they beat Seaward in the state semifinals 2-1. Same score they had against us, and they played the state championship, but I don't have any record of what they did there, because we didn't care about them after that. We had a great year. I'm very proud of these girls. I'm proud of the way they pulled together and they united together as a complete team. Not just the 11 girls on the field, a complete team, and that's what made a difference for us. We did a lot of things together. I tried to show them what community really is, and they learned very well. They're very young, so they listen to everything I say. They believe it. So don't do that. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of the way that they carry themselves when we go visit other towns. They carry their Chazy pride with them all the time. At this time, I'd like to thank all the parents for your support, coming to our games and cheering us on. Some of you for giving the dinners when the team decided they needed to have dinners every night before a game. Thank you very much for that. I'd like to thank the Athletic Association for all their support and all their help. I'd like to thank the administration here at the school and the school staff for all their help in getting doors open and giving us things and helping us out with questions that we had. I'd like to thank Mr. Dumoulin for his not reporting bus trips. He had a lot to say on the bus. It was good. I'd like to thank Tim LaPointe for driving us to all our games and sometimes helping me analyze the games when the games are over. That's pretty cool. Sometimes you need another opinion of how your game went. I'd like to thank Gene and Pete for everything they've done and all their support. You guys have helped us out a lot. You've made my players a little slower at the end of the season. Thank you very much, guys. I'd like to thank Claire, my scorekeeper, for all she's done for us. She's helped us out every game. Some games she couldn't make it. She had someone come in and take her place. No questions asked. I had a scorekeeper. Thank you very much, guys. Now I'd like to call my athletes up. I want to call them just a few at a time, talk about them and see how this works out. I'd like to call Alicia Dupree, Katie Mulligan, Kim Terrett, Elise Bowman, and Lindsay Rinkowski, please. Guys came to us preseason. They worked really hard. They're all here together right now because they were injured this season. They worked hard with us. They had injuries. They didn't get very much playing time. For next year, they're going to help us out a lot. You guys got to stick it out. Their injuries are going to go away. They're going to be taken care of, obviously. and they're going to come back and play hard next year. Thanks, guys. It's called Jen Gallo, Jamie LePage, Leslie Rovers, and Amy Castine. These guys are a hard-working group. Stuck it out with us all year. They know our preseason is tough. They made it through preseason. They continue to improve all year. They didn't get a lot of playing time, but I'm expecting big things from them in the future. You guys stick it out with us. Thank you. Now I'd like to see Liz Sportan, Nicolette DeBray, and Heidi Moser. These guys got a little bit of playing time this year. They're trying to get starting spots for next year. They're working really hard. They're motivated. They continue to improve. And I know their talents are going to be needed next year. No question. Thank you, guys. I'd like to see Michelle Dupree and Jen Brew, please. These guys were first-year players on varsity. We have a different system than what they're used to on modified, so when they come to varsity, they have to learn our system. And they got starting positions because they learned our system very quickly, and they worked very hard. It's not easy being a first-year player and getting a starting spot. It's not an easy thing to do on a team as good as what our team is. But they've done it. They've proved that they can do it. And they're going to keep doing it for a few more years. Thank you, guys. Melissa Lemaire, Katie Crew, Rose Valon, and Rachel Lamb. These athletes have made great strides. They've been working with our team for quite a while, and just continue to impress me every time they play. Every game that we've had, they've improved, got better, got stronger. They're very good athletes. They're very team-minded. They work together well. They didn't have a lot to learn. They already knew what they had to do. They did their job well for us. We use them very well. Thank you, guys. Now I'd like to call my seniors up. Kristen Dubray, Samantha Frederick, Christy Wilson, Katie Bouchard, Krista Dubray. These seniors were at the helm this year. They did a great job for us. We had a bunch of captains meeting beginning the season, and it went well. We decided that we would have a seniors meeting instead because there was only 5 seniors on the team, and that went well also. When it was time for team unity, the seniors decided it was time to do something drastic, and they did. The team came together well, and I put it all on them. It's their responsibility for pulling the team together. We're going to miss them next year. We've got 3 captains. This squad here. They've done a great job for us in the past. They did a great job for us this year. You guys worked really hard. They know soccer well. They know teamwork, team plays. They helped out a lot with the drills. They helped out a lot with everything this year. They've done the work for us. We've always been lucky to have good captains, and we had great captains this year to help us pull together. You guys are going to be missed a great deal. Thank you very much. I have pins and captain's bars and stuff that I'll give to you guys after. Okay? Thank you very much.
Actually, we'll take care of that part and something else right now. We'll call them up here and present the pins. If there's any problems with any of the awards, all the girls on the team will get a sectional patch for their great effort. And we'll do that during the week because we don't have all the sectional patches in yet. We'll call the people up now and give them their pins and their awards. Rose Valant. Jen Pruitt. Katie Pruitt. Rachel Lamb. Melissa Lemaire. Michelle Dupree. Michelle needs to get a 0. Sam Frederick. Christy Wilson. Krista Dupree. And Katie can come up and get this and stay up here.
Okay, I have a little speech prepared for our coach, but we'll do everyone else first. Well, this is for Mrs. Coach, Coach's wife. We call her Mrs. Coach. She's not here, but she did a lot for our team, and she always supported us, and she always came to all the games, so for her. We have a card for the Poissons because they've just been with us like the whole season, and we always get their support in every game. They just I don't know, really amazing people, and they have such support for us no matter what happens, no matter if we lost our game or if we won it or whatever the story was, they were behind us 100%. We couldn't thank you more. We have a card for Sam and Calvin too, for taking all our games, coming on the trips with us and everything. Thanks. bus rides and loud, obnoxious music, standing up and jumping around and everything. And we just want to thank him for all the years that he was our bus driver. And we'll just say goodbye and thank you for everything. I just want to thank we don't have a card, but we want to thank Mr. Testone because, like, even when he always made sure that he mentioned the girls whenever, like, he would come in the cafeteria and we were having a little pep rally for the boys or whatever. He never failed to mention the girls, even though we didn't make it as far. He always made sure that we got the recognition that he thought we deserved, and so we just want to thank him for the support. Well, it's not long, but I'm just going to read it because I didn't memorize it or anything. And it's the coach, and it's from our team, but, like, I want to say that it's basically, like, from the seniors since this will be the last time we'll ever stand up here for soccer, at least. And it's just a little, like, note to say thank you for all the years that you've been with us. So, here it is. Coach, you have shown us so much, and we can never repay you for all you've done for us. From the first day that you arrived up until our last defeat, you have shaped us into good sports, healthy players, and fair opponents. We wish to thank you for those 4 miles every practice, all the sprinting, all the aches and pains, and finally the will to survive, even through the toughest of games. You have molded us into a team that is full of heart and desire. Though each coming year became more and more difficult, you always seemed to get us through. You reached us in a subtle way that we could only understand through your example. You not only taught us the game of soccer, but lessons in life. You have showed us how to look to one another for support and how to understand hardship and strife. You must know that you are a prime example of a coach that could teach us anything, and we'd all agree. At times we wanted to give up, but you never let us because you believed in us, and that was all we needed. We will never forget the impression you have left on us. It is a mark of a lifetime. We thank you deeply for all your time, for all you've taught us, but most importantly, for your caring. We love you, Coach. Wait, where's that little thing? Oh, yeah. Chuck it out there.
That was nice, Paul. Nice job. Congratulations. Girls and work season. Now we're going to move on to the boys varsity soccer team, Mr. Brandell and Paul.
Wow, what a year. Before I get started, ran into Stan Riggs the other day. Stan came here last year and was our guest speaker. And he's full of a lot of humor and small stories, as you know. But one of his parting comments was he wanted to make sure that I give Mr. McCullough something. And I couldn't understand it, but he gave me something, and I want to give that to you now. The yellow card. Remember, I speak next. I guess before I go on, I'd like to make sure we thank everybody because this was a year that contained a tremendous amount of strain and it led to success. But if you look back to the beginning of the year, we sure needed the help of a lot of people. First, the Athletic Association and all the things that they have done.
You don't know the amount of time, effort, and the money they spend to do things like this. And I don't know where we would be without them, so I want to make sure we thank those people. The faculty and the administration. For instance, I know this year I had to leave my class several times because of the afternoon games towards sectional time, and Joe Dumoulin filled in for me without hesitation. And those are the things that just make your job so much easier inside the classroom and outside of it. The parents, Mr. Testone for all his support. You know, several mornings I would go in and have a problem, and he would always find time to talk to me and try to resolve it. And especially towards the end with the problem that we had being on contingency budget and trying to find the funds to take on this major undertaking of going to Batavia. So we really appreciate your help. Mr. and Mrs. Bisson for all their support through the year and those fine cookies that is so readily available, have ready for us after the games. Tim LaPointe for those bus rides. Mike Bordeaux for doing a nice job as his first year as athletic director. He's taken a seriousness to it and filled in and has continued to do well in this job. Sandy Perry, our scorekeeper, who's done an outstanding job for us. The PTO supported us all the way through. And Randy Barcombe, the fine job he did with the modified team. And if you look at the modified record the last 3 or 4 years, it's been very, very good. Maybe one loss in the last 1 or 2 losses in the last 3 years. And I guess that kind of trickles down to the youth leagues here. And I want to thank all those coaches who coach the Pee-wees and the youngsters that really make our job easier when they come to the varsity level. A lot of the skills that are necessary to play, they already have. So without them, we really wouldn't have the success that we have. I guess I want to talk about the budget a little bit because if you go back into the crisis that we had, virtually a crisis at the beginning of the year, or the end of last school year, and the question whether we'd have an athletic program. And the community really came together and supported us, and I think it's a testimony of what this community is like to make sure athletics continued. And I look at what John Coyer did at the Press Republican. I remember calling him up and telling him our situation, and I wanted him to interview a few of our girl athletes and boy athletes to get a perspective from the students. And he mentioned that in, I believe, our sectional championship, that how, you know, you look back to Chazy, how far we've come from a program that was mentioned in Sports Illustrated with problems with our budget to going so far in both boys and girls this year. So that you got to remember back to those budget problems and look at all the work that people did to make sure this could go off the way it did this year. I guess every year, August 15th, Mr. McCall and I sit down, we stand in front of the players and mention what we expect of them and the rules and regulations for the year. And it doesn't really change much year to year. But this year, we really wanted to emphasize our team goals. And our team goals were the MBAC championship, the sectional title, and we wanted to advance in state play. And we met all of those goals. And in particular, the MBAC championship, if you look back to that in October, and the idea of changing that game from Seton Catholic to Westport was a major undertaking, and they wanted to basically provide an opportunity for those teams from the South to have more of a neutral site, as they said, because they considered Seton's field our second home field. They had never officially said that. Mostly it was to do with transportation and so on. So I know that's something I'm sure Mr. McCall will probably bring up because his hair in the back of his neck is probably rising as we speak about it because it wasn't a good situation down there. The lights were low. The field is unquestionably the best in the area. However, you know, if you looked at the safety factor, the lights were low. It was difficult to play. We met that challenge. We beat team down there, and that was a nice win. But the point being is, we want to have that back at season next year. We want to have the best game. We want to have the best night game available. Sectional title, I guess that brings back Willsboro. And I could mention Willsboro for a moment because unquestionably, the turning point of our season was the Willsboro sectional game, semifinal game, when we had to play them in Westport, and they jumped out to a 2-0 lead. At that point, Mr. McAuliffe and I mentioned to each other afterwards, we were thinking almost exactly the same thing. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe we're losing to Willsboro, 2-0. And it's such a crisis moment that it really did set the tone for the rest of our year, because if you look at that game, James scored with about 6 seconds left in the half. We scored again with about 6 minutes left in the game, in the regulation, to tie it up. So it really gave us a gut check and made us believe that that we have to pick the pace up here and continue on. So I look at that sectional game as probably the pivotal spot in the season. State play, you look at Lisbon and you look at New Lebanon, tremendous efforts on the team part. Played in the mud and the muck, and we just rose to the challenge and played very well. A couple other things I want to mention, and I want to kind of be brief because I know Mr. McAuliffe is going to come up and mention probably many of the same things in a different way. But this year, one of our big focuses was eligibility. And it always is, but I want to make sure everybody knows that we think about academics as well as athletics. And once again, we only lost one player for academic reasons, and he actually was able to come back on at the end of the year. And I think that shows how much dedication the team had to doing well in school, because they know how important it is. There's a lot of people who have their questions about the academic policies that we have, but I think that we have risen to that occasion and tackled those problems, and I hope we can continue to do that well in the classroom. I guess finally I want to say how much I enjoyed working with Rob, and this has just been a great year. I think it validates all the work that we put in the off-season, during the summers, and the tremendous amount of effort taken on by the kids themselves. And as I said before, when it comes down to game time, especially at the end of the year, we were really no more than cheerleaders, because what can you say to kids out there in the heat of the moment? They either have learned what they're going to learn in the past week or season, or they haven't. So I think we got to give most of the success to the kids. They're the ones that had to go out and do it, and I'm just tremendously proud of each and every one of you. Thank you.
First of all, I'd just like to thank, I'm hoping maybe Dave Pratt or someone who gave Casey, Terry, Zach, John, Jay, Eric haircuts. They look much better. Just quickly, without trying to repeat what Tom said, thanks to Sam for all that he's done, and Calvin. Thanks to the Poissons, Mr. Poissons for the cookies, and of course Pete for his colorful commentary on the officials after the game. Usually I agree with. Mr. Moses for all the work they've done this year. Pete Evans' family and the Athletic Association for all the work they've done. Mike Bordeaux again. Mike is doing a wonderful job. Just to let everyone else know out there that Mike is doing a great job, and we are lucky to have Mike Bordeaux here. Also Randy Barcombe for all the listening to all my complaints on the bus. I'd like to thank other people like Tom Tregan, who has done a great deal of work for this program, and his poor wife who listens to me calling his house all the time for advice and things like that. Also, someone who should never be forgotten when Chazy Soccer mentions George Brennan. special person when you go to a state Final Four banquet, and the only other coach or person they mention besides the coaches who are participating is George Brennan. He was the one who set up the sectional play for boys and girls and state play. He's the one who set this all up. So without him, we never would have been participating in any kind of Final Four state play. And also, I think, the reason why we are all here, and the reason why I'm coaching, or probably staying in this area, is because of George Brennan. He's the one who got soccer started in this area. I mean, not just in Chazy, but really in the North Country. And my life has been changed by him, and indirectly yours has too. Of course, I'd like to thank Tom Brandel, and it's nice having, when you see someone going, when you see buckets being kicked over on the sideline and hats being thrown, it's just lucky that I'm there to keep Tom. But he told me he's going to work on that next year and be much fun. I'd like to congratulate the boys and girls modified, and especially the girls varsity. I can tell you, you could see how close you girls were to getting to the Final Four. And it will happen. You just have to persevere through it. I guarantee you it will happen. And the way you have brought this program up to where it is now is amazing. Especially that senior class. You should be very proud of yourself. You have made the Chazy girls soccer program a very special thing. Now, if we look at all the titles we have, if you go right down the list, you talk about the Northern Division title, MBAC title, the undefeated regular season, the MBAC championship, the section championship, the section 7-10 North Country championship, the East Regional championship, and then going on to the Final Four. Those are all great things. I'm not trying to downplay those things. But the one thing that we're all going to take away from this, and no one's going to go home with a trophy every night saying, yes, I was part of the East Regional state championship team. That's not going to happen. What all of us are going to go home with is memories of what went on. 15 years from now, when Eric Bowman sees James Moser on the street, they're going to have that memory. He's pushing a broom, but they will have that memory no matter what. And they can talk to one another, and they will have that until the day they die. A reunion 40 years from now, they can still talk about, remember that game against New Lebanon, remember that game against Lisbon. You have that memory. What you've also done is, you've not only given memories to myself and Mr. Brandel, you've given special moments to everyone in this room, and to everyone in this town, in this area. You've made it a very special time. I'm very proud of yourself for that. Now, if we look back, Mr. Brandel mentioned it last year when we lost to Wilbur. That was, I don't think I've experienced a harder loss in athletics than I did that night. When that whole game went on, and I turned to look when the shootout was over, and I saw 22 kids who I cared about dearly, let's be honest, crying and being very upset. It crushed me. And I'll never forget that. But I'll also never forget when we beat New Lebanon, and Mr. Brandel and I were left on the field talking to reporters and things like that, and that game was over. I turned, I started walking toward the bus. I could see the bus shaking. Hear them chanting Final Four. And that was an amazing feeling. And those are the things that you guys will take away with you from this season. Whether you're an 8th grader or you're a senior, you will always remember this season. You remember the people sitting next to you. And when that game against Willsboro happened, it was something that held on to us for this season as well. I remember just thinking about that, saying, God, we got to show that we are the best team here. And what you did is you persevered and you worked hard for what you wanted. And that was to win those championships. And that is what I'm going to ask, and Mr. Brandel is going to ask. We've asked every year from these gentlemen here, the people who have been playing more than 1 year, that you are become determined and you work hard. And you push yourself as far as you can push yourself. And if you want it bad enough, you will work hard as you can to get that. And if you really want it, you will work that hard, and you will achieve that goal. The modified players back there, one day I will ask you that same question. And so, Mr. Brindle, will you work hard enough to achieve those goals? Will you be on the state championship team? Will you work as hard as these guys have? We will ask you that question, and you have to give us the answer. These guys gave us the answer, and the answer was, yeah, they were going to work as hard as they could. And they did that. And that's why they made it to the Final Four. No other reason. It wasn't luck. It's that they worked and they wanted it more than New Lebanon or Lisbon or Westport or Willsboro did. Period. And that's why they got there. The only bad part about this is that you guys have raised the bar for every team who will play after this. I've talked many times. I think George Brendan's worn off on me, but during practice, very often I would talk about former teams and talk about what they did. And now you can go away knowing that if I'm still coaching 10 years from now, I will be talking about your team. Talking about how wonderful team you guys were, how hard you worked, how determined you were. That's what I'll do. Of course, we set a record of 20 wins in one season as a school record since they've made it. You can only play a certain amount of games. Just remember that you have made this a special time for everyone in this town, in this community, in this school. There's one last thing I wanted to say. Tom spoke about the budget. And it's a little off on as an aside, but I think I still want to talk about this for a minute. I heard a story about a high school football player. He played at a Class A school, which it's a very large school. And when he was younger, when he was like 10, 11 years old, he was playing Pee Wee football. And he was not the best football player around. He was one of the worst on the team. And he kept on working at it. And they put him on the Pee Wee team. And his father would go to every single game. Even though he was not the best, he played because he was on a Pee Wee team. He played every game, but he was awful. Just an awful player. But he kept on working and he tried and he tried. Later on, he went on to modified football, where he made the team. There wasn't any cuts, so he made the team. His father still was there every game. Every single game. His son wouldn't play very much, and when he did, it was only for a short amount of time, and he was never very good. He went on to JV, where he just barely made the team and didn't play at all. He played 12 games, he had a 12-game football season. He did not play once. The kid was devastated by it, but he went to practice every day and worked hard. And every game, home or away, he'd look up in the stands and his dad would be sitting there. Every game. Well, then he saw JV was over. He said, "Well, I'm going to try out to make up varsity." His friends were like, "Listen, you can't make varsity. There's no way you'll make it. Just quit." And the kid said, "No, I'm not going to quit. I'll at least try out. If I don't make it, fine. But I'm not going to just quit." So the kid tried out. The last player to be on the team. His junior year. Again, didn't play at all. His father was at every single game. Didn't complain, nothing. He was at every single game. Senior year, last game of the season, still has not played. Father every game still. He goes up to 2 days before the game, the big playoff game. He was at school. They went and got him out of his classroom and said that his father had died. And he didn't know what to do, so he ran off to practice, told his coach, said, "Listen, I'm going to be gone for a few days, and my father died, I have to leave." The coach said, "Fine." In the back of his mind, the coach said, "Well, he wouldn't play anyway. State playoff game, he wouldn't play anyway." So the kid went off. The coach didn't expect him for the championship game. The kid shows up at halftime of the football game. Gets all dressed up. Before they go out for the halftime game, the team is down by 7 points. Says, "Coach, can I get in, please? Let me get in this one time." The coach's like, "Listen, I don't know. Let me think about it." He kept on begging the coach to let him in, and he wouldn't do it. So finally, they're still down 7 points. The coach said, "Fine, go ahead, go in." So the kid goes in. Like 2 minutes later, intercepts a pass, runs it back for a touchdown, tie game. A few minutes later after that, he intercepts another pass, runs back, the dying minute in the game, scores a game-winning touchdown. So after the game, melee, crowds are on the field. The coach runs over the kid and says, "Okay, how'd you do that? How did you bring yourself up to do that? You were never that great a player." He said, "Well, coach, this is the first time my father will ever be able to see me play." I said, "What do you mean? He's been at every game." He goes, "No, my father wasn't blind." And my point to this whole thing is that don't anyone ever tell me that high school athletics is not important to kids. And I know we talked about the budget, but these kids here showed how important, how wonderful things can be when we have high school athletics. When I thought that possibility of that budget being turned down, it tore me apart. These kids, everyone here shows how special it is to them that we have high school athletics. You can imagine the memories that these kids wouldn't have if that budget did go voted down. I know it's kind of a somber story, but I did want to make that point. That the wonderful feelings that we had being in that hotel room, and I know they weren't sleeping, but being in the hotel room, and all those wonderful times we had in there, how bad the bus stunk on the way back, how bad those rooms were, and seeing all the other teams' players chasing all the varsity girls around, and having our pizza party at the end, little things like that, I will never forget. Mr. Brandell will never forget. Like I said, the trophies are fine, and there will be banners up in the gym. And when you're 40 years old, you can go and say, "Oh, that's ours." But those other memories is what's really important. Thank you.
Okay, once again, we'll hand out the certificates and the awards at this time. If there's any problems with the awards, again, let me know during the week. We had letters. The Varsity Eagle, a few of the players on the boys team should be getting this, and they will be getting it, but not today. Yeah, we have to get a few more in stock. We don't have enough to give everybody one, so they'll be ordered, and you'll get them in a couple weeks. But everybody else will get their pin and their captain's bar and their certificates. So,
Like call your name, just come up and stand over here. 8th grader Craig Hornwell. John Trombley. Kevin Ryan. Our scorekeeper, Danny Perry. And my roommate in the hotel room. On the couch. He's Tim Barker. Chris Trombley. John Lauren. Frank Cody. Second team All-Star John Frederick. Also second team All-Star who's not here, I think, Jason Guerin. Drew Arthur. Steve Manning. And first team All-Star Matt Devon. Bray. Billy Lobdell. Danny Mooney. Honorable mention All-Star Jay Anderson. Honorable mention All-Star also Zach Lee. First team All-Star Patrick McCollum. Okay, now we'll talk about the seniors. The seniors, Casey Barcombe. Now, Casey, when I think of Casey, there's only a few words come to mind. And a few of them are devotion, dedication to this team and to this program. At times I thought there was almost nobody, besides me, I'm sorry, who wanted to win more. Who wanted to win more than this kid. You could tell on the bus, wherever he went, in school, you could tell constantly that he was thinking about the game, except for when he was in class. But this kid was total devotion in practice, in the games, you name it. He cared very much about this program and this team. Casey Barcombe. The next senior I want to talk about is Daryl Lamb. When I think with Daryl, there's a few things I think of. The one I mainly think of is not this year, but last year, where we played Willsboro at home, and he scored with 30 seconds left in the game, or a minute and a half left, something like that, to beat Willsboro at home, the biggest game of the year. So we were all jumping up and down the sideline. Of course, Tom was crazy. And I see Daryl score, and I turn and look, and all the kids are jumping up and down. And all of a sudden, I see him running along the sideline, slapping all these games' hands. The coach in me said, "Oh, Daryl." And then a split second later, it was the spectator, in me, and said, "Oh my God, Daryl." But that's how Daryl is, and Daryl's a wonderful part of this team, and we're glad to have him. Daryl Lamb. The next thing I want to talk about is Jason Fenner. One story about Jason that I will never forget is when we had that game against Willsboro at Camp Dudley. We were down 2-1, and naturally we had a very loud speech at halftime, and there was a lot of emotion running through all of us up here because, my God, are we going to lose to the team that beat us last year in a heartbreaker? Are we going to lose in the sectional semifinals to a team we know we should be able to beat? And we were down 2-1, and we're like, oh my God, is this going to happen or what? And we pressed upon the kids that it has to be done, and you have to give as much as you can for the next 40 minutes. And as a coach, Tom and I have talked about this before, we've said, winning the championships is great because you can always pin those up on the wall. But there's other things you can't pin up on the wall. And when we broke away from the huddle, everyone started walking onto the field, and I feel someone behind me, and Jason taps me on the back, and I'll never forget this. This is what coaching's all about. And Jason said, "Don't worry, Coach, I won't let you down." And that I won't forget, bud. Jason Fenner. We have 3 left. Okay, Eric Bowman. You probably don't recognize Eric. He looks a lot different. I don't know if
that was for intimidation or what, with the hair in the face, the hair in the eyes. Eric is a completely dedicated player. This past year, if you look at his season, he really played well in important games. And I think, especially down in the stretch, he was a big factor for us. He scored some really important goals in big games that we needed somebody to come through. It's hard to say, tell you that a senior really improved his game during the year, but he did. He worked really hard. He never complains in school or out of school. He's a team leader, quietly, and he's well liked by everybody. So he's got a lot of positive attributes, and I'm sure he'll be a success someday. And I think if you looked at the second half of the year for him, he was really a contributor, and he was an honorable mention pick, and he probably could have been higher because he played most of his good games in state play in the committee had already met on All-Stars. So just a tremendous person, Eric Bowman. Next, Terry Lapierre. Now, you can't call him Farm anymore because he's elevated himself. He's now a Top Gun. And I say that because Terry, typically the kids will wear their uniforms to school on game day, and Terry has to wear a goaltending uniform. Somewhere during the year, and I don't know, maybe I'm missing some of the points, but he decided he's going to wear overalls, and and they were green. And I saw him in the gym, and I said, well, who's the pilot with the flight suit on? And from then on, that was his title. He had the flight suit, and he was Top Gun. But on a serious note, here you have the all-time leader in shutouts for the area. He's a three-time first-team selection. He had 14 shutouts this year. Probably noticed more in that state game by many people from our team for an outstanding game in the Final Four. Just played a tremendous game. Became a very confident, hard-working player who, another one who never complains. Doesn't say much, but leads in a quiet way. And the one thing I want to mention about Terry is next year we have Tim Barkham. Tim Barkham's going to come up and fill his spot. We didn't get to play very much this year, but we kind of let the goalies work by themselves this year because naturally it's difficult to work with goalies when you're trying to work on team aspects, and Terry would take Tim underneath his wing, and it's very difficult for a senior to do that, have them work together so well. And I think we saw a lot of improvement in Tim this year, and you may not have because he didn't get to play. But this is so important, and it takes a special person really to work with somebody that's going to be underneath them, and especially somebody that's a sophomore, and not complain and not look down upon or talk about or be silly about something. And Terry was serious from every moment. So just a real quality individual, one of the best goalies ever come out of the area. Terry is. Last but not least, James Moser. One thing I said to the Press Republican about, I asked us questions about coaching and tactics and what did you do during the game and how did you overcome this and win this game, do this and that. And Steve Willett, I would say, that was kind of my common answer after a while, let's get the damn ball to James because he's going to make something happen. And he was really the leader in that Willsboro game when he did score virtually all by himself in the half and scored again later on to help us. He's been a 2-year captain, and he's been one of the best captain I've known since I've been here. He keeps everybody in line, everybody respects him, they look at him as a leader, He gets things done. If there's a problem on the bus, if there's something I don't want to address, or Mr. McAuliffe doesn't want to address, we just simply call it to James' attention, and he takes care of it. Pure and simple. Those are the things that he does off the field. He does some things off the field like that just separate him from a lot of other people. He's a 3-year first-team selection in the MVAC. This year he was the league MVP, and unquestionably the league MVP. At the meeting, there was nobody else nominated. He had the respect of all the coaches in the area. He was well known in the state, even, and eventually being the first-team All-State player. Dedicated to improving himself, and that was evident in the course of the year. Many people don't know this, but he worked out, he lifted weights, he was dedicated to improving himself this year. And maybe that was the sting of that Willsboro game last year that maybe motivated him and many of his teammates. He was just a great captain, as I said, and one of the all-time leading scorers in the area, James Moser.
The only thing I can say is that, with James being first team All-State, you have to remember that it's coming from Class C and D schools. So he was selected the first team All-State out of probably close to 450 schools. So being chosen All-State is quite an honor. And, we're very proud of him.
Congratulations, guys. If there's any problem with the awards, just see me during the week, and we'll clear up any issues that there might be with that. The next presenter will be Mr. Devens, Ray Devens of the Athletic Association.
Thank you first of all. First, I'd like to thank Mrs. Mooney for the memento book that the team got. Like, all the games are in the paper, all the articles. She photocopied them and the pictures and made it into a book. So thanks, Mrs. Mooney and Danny. I'd like to thank Crowley for sponsoring us in the summer soccer, buying us jerseys, and helping us out with the summer soccer. I'd like to thank Mr. Testo and the Board of Education for their support and hard work for the Final Four, getting the bus ready and all that stuff. And all the other sponsors who helped out with the Final Four, all the people who donated money. I think Mrs. Frederick got a bunch of people that donated some money for that, so thanks to her and all the other people. And now I'd like to thank Tim, the bus driver, for driving us everywhere and putting up with everything. And we'd like to thank Calvin and Sam for videotaping all the games. I'd like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Poitman for all their support. And their cookies.
I'm ready.
Can I say thank you? I want to say thank you to the girls varsity, the boys varsity, for everything. You should be proud of yourselves, be proud of your parents should be proud of you, and your community should be proud of you. And I wish each and every one of you a beautiful Thanksgiving. And I want to thank the boys for dedicating the game on November the 8th to our son George, who was a great soccer player here in Chazy. The whole family appreciates it, and thank you very much.
We'd also like to thank the coaches for doing all the summer work and getting us into the gym for soccer in the winter and all the summer and all the preseason stuff and the tournaments, scrimmages. So yeah, it's a good thing for them.
Alright, I don't have a speech or anything, I'm sorry, but I'll try and make it short. This year, out of my 4 years playing soccer, is probably the best. Not because we went to the States, all of our accomplishments. It's because of our team and our coaches and just pretty much everything. It's the first team that everyone's got along and even we got along with the coaches. So, and the final thing would be the fans. As I look at everyone here, I'm certain that everyone has been to a Chazy soccer game, and I think you should give yourself a hand.
By the way, that was Coach Boyer who knocked down the flag. Okay, first thing I'd like to do is congratulate everybody that's here. You guys did a heck of a job, and everybody should be proud of you. We bought some trophies here for all our first team All-Stars. So we'll start out with that. Let's start out with the ladies. Okay, we have first team All-Star, Katie Bouchard. Krista Dupree. Christy Wilson. Now for the boys. Matt Devens. Matt's been trying to see that trophy for 2 weeks. Patrick McCullough. Harry Lapierre. Jason Fenner. I misspelled Jason's name. Jason Fender. Okay, and last but not least, this is our MVP plaque presented to James Moser, League's most valuable player, Mountain Valley Athletic Conference. what's going on. Of course, you know that we purchased boys and girls soccer uniforms, girls warm-up this year. We did boys basketball uniforms last year. We just got the girls basketball, so now it's time to work on baseball and softball. So we're setting up lottery tickets. We set them up with all the kids' names. If people that are here would pick them up on the way out. We only gave you 7 each this time instead of 10. Hopefully things will go smoother. If we can't sell them all, get them back to us, and we'll see what we can do about selling them. Also, I'd like to thank the people of the community. We put that little blurb in there, Rob and myself, to get donations to help with the trip to the Final Four. And you would not believe how you people came through. We collected $2,015 in a matter of a day. So yeah, that just goes to show the people of the community what they're, what they think of you kids. And one more thing is that we're going to have a breakfast at the church hall next Sunday morning from 8 to 1 o'clock. We'd like you kids to sign up and give us a hand to help, and parents too. We'll have the sign-up sheet out there with the lottery tickets if anybody would mind helping out. And also, I was told to tell you that these pictures are for sale that are here, 25 cents a piece. Same spot. Pardon? Well, you have them over there, except for the one that has the names on the back of the box. Okay, we thank you for everything, and good luck.
Very special occasion for me. I have to set the record straight with Rob, claiming that it's all my doing, and that's not entirely true, because I think I was part of it with the community, and most of you older people are part of it too. We did it together, and Chazy really did. The one that did get us to where we were in soccer. And I think I was very proud at the soccer playoffs this week when we were down there. It's nice to be down to meet a lot of people, but I was especially proud of the Chazy people. We had a lot more people there than those people that, like Hamilton was much closer, and they had by far maybe even half as many spectators as we, which shows something unique about this place. There's the old one where I started, and here we are, many years in this building, and there's a special feeling that I have. All these years that I walked over here, it wasn't work. I came to something else, and it's very nice to see it continued. I'm trying to put it in the proper word, and I think it will come out. Not too many people can go to work all their life and then see some vestiges or some results of what they have done continue on. And boy, I'm really proud of that. It's continuing right here, and I can identify with this group of people right here that I've worked with, or maybe somehow I influenced their life a little bit. I know I did this guy right here. He used to babysit for me. I had to wake him up every time he did. Randy. Mike, of course, my son says, a great replacement for you, Dad. And Tom, of course, we are the same namesake. He plays better golf than I do. And Rob, of course, has done me so much more than I deserve. I just feel it's so nice to be a part of it and it's so time. I wanted you all to hear that.
remind everyone that we have cake and dessert on this side, and cake around over here. Thank you very much.